Hey, Sweat Sisters, welcome back to our second live for today. We are going to have a chat with KJ Rose. She is full of energy, so inspiring, truly a game changer. A little bit more about her. She's affectionately known as the talent whisperer. Okay, she is a powerful change agent with real world experience working for Clive Davis and performing with P.Diddy, Carl Thomas, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, and Janet Jackson, and delivers real world results to young creatives. It's her creative destiny and infectious energy that companies such as Google, CAA, ABFF, South by Southwest, oh my gosh, the list goes on and on, Pandora Media, Own TV, Nickelodeon, and Disney, they all find her very compelling and deem her to be the ultimate solution for their talent. Okay, so if you are interested in learning how to build courage and confidence during uncertain times, you need to stay locked in right here. All right, let me get her on. And while I get her on, listen to this.
Want no smoke with me, then turn this mode, hope 800 degree. Team eat chefs cause she's a trained one. She's so bougie. I'm a savage, attitude nasty. Talk big, but my bank account matching. Hood, but I'm classy. Rich, but I'm ratchet. Hey, my name and they mouth not a gassy.
Welcome.
Man, you know I love some music coming
Exactly.
in the morning. And it's only 10:30 here in LA. So I'm like, yo, I need it. And Devil's trying to stop me, then turned off my computer. It won't work. But you had the music for me. Your sister will always have your back. You're beautiful.
Oh my goodness, I love seeing your face each and every time I see you, even if it's virtually. You make me happy. You really do.
Hi, beautiful.
Hi. I was already told, the people who chimed in earlier, how incredible you are, the work that you've been doing throughout the years, the change you have been making in so many people's lives. You should be.
I saw it. Thank you so much for just always having love and supporting me. It's been such I'm so full just on all the love that people have shown me, from words that I was scared to speak, to know that it spoke to others in some way. And so it's like you have been a vehicle for, that and allowing me the platform to continue to stretch and expand. And I'm just so full right now. Like I want to run, put on my mask. I'm running right after this. Thank you.
We got to stay healthy. That's the best thing we can do right now. And I say this all the time. I'm like, we've been preparing for this pandemic since 2011 when we started this. It's like we've been trying to tell everybody, get healthy, get healthy.
Yeah.
Moments like this, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But okay, so I'm gonna start you off with a question that's not even a healthy one though.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
I want to know. I'm talking about from childhood to now. What is your all-time favorite cereal? Just the best one.
All-time favorite cereal.
Yeah.
It's funny because I love some honeycombs. My mother really wouldn't let me have that. She would only really buy Cheerios.
Yes.
So by the time I put the sugar on the Cheerios, I made it work for me.
Right, exactly. I don't know why parents did that, but like we're still going to sugar it anyway. So
yeah, I'm like, but I probably snuck and did it. But yeah, it was my favorite was honeycombs. But yeah.
I see some people chiming in here. This is a good question.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yes.
And granola. Like I love the real granola.
Yeah,
I like the real granola too.
And I like Captain Crunch. So shout out to Cass Noob 03 because I like Captain Crunch. I hate how it like messes up the top of your mouth though because it's hard.
And it sticks.
Yeah, you gotta let it get a little soft. Speaking of that, that's another question. Do you like your cereal to be slightly soggy or extremely crunchy?
Never. Always crunchy.
See, I'm a
Always
slightly
crunchy.
soggy.
No,
I'm a slightly soggy.
What now? I do like I do like the flavored milk at the end. I do like to just kind of savor that. I do like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take us through your journey a bit because you have been an artist yourself. You have molded the careers of young, frightened artists who, are just trying to find their way.
Yeah.
What's your passion behind this? Why did you get into this field?
Well, I'm passionate because I'm an artist forever, right?
Yeah.
I started as a vocal artist, as a background singer for Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson, Carl Thomas, P. Diddy. I started as a session singer as well with Heavy D, Biggie, AZ, A+, Dead Prez, Common, and Mace. And so that was kind of the training before I even knew that, you know, I knew I loved music, but I didn't think it constituted an actual career. And so there were a few of us in college, a girl, Dory, that she could sing, but we were like the only girls in our group that could sing. So it still, again, didn't say you should be a singer. And so it was going to college. Like, I didn't start when I was 5. I had a love of music when I was 5, but didn't think that I would be a vocalist at that age. That was not my goal. And so, you know, I went to school for business administration. I went to FAMU, shout out to Rattlers. And while being there, I pledged Delta Sigma Theta, and they would be like, hey, we got an event coming up. We need a singer. And I'd be like, well, let me get you one. And they'd be like, nope, we got one in mind. And so, you know, back then, you don't really back down. You just be like, okay, whatever you say. And so that really started just kind of like me getting out of this stage fright that really existed. It was so inherent. And so I believe that once I kind of broke, I don't think you ever break out of it. I think you get tools. If that's not who you are, just in terms of natural, like being able to jump on any stage. And I am that in a group, right? I can dance with a group. I can cheer with a group. I can do pom-pom. But the moment you single me out and say, hey, we'd like you to come and do a speech, I'm like, no, I didn't raise my hand for that. You know? And so it was kind of like those groups that really emboldened me, and it would take other people to say, hey, why don't you, they would just throw me in, you know? So I threw myself into the Apollo because I was like, I gotta fight this feeling of nausea that it won't, my body physically just had an adverse reaction to performing on stage all alone. And so that was like a turning point there, because I was able to do it. I conquered it. And then I realized that it was repetition. You know, it's funny, I was watching, shout out to D Nice, because I was watching at 1:20 a.m.
Wow.
I went into Club Quarantine. I was like, let me see what they're doing. I mean, I just went to celebrate him and to rock with him. And he ended up, I thought he was going to play like this last song. And then that would be it. He was like, okay, this is my last song, Prince, blah, blah, blah. Then he was like, look, I love Prince, but there's joy in repetition, right? And so that is what I believe in my own business, that there is victory in repetition. Right? Because if you can recall it, but let me extend that story. He gave me a shout out. I said, what song is that? He said, this is my friend KJ. She wrote a book. I said, look at Jesus.
Yes.
At 1:20 a.m. That's another story. Okay. So there is victory in repetition. It is, how often have you recalled yourself having done a presentation, an audition, a speech, a performance, so that you can use it as a reference point when it's time, right? If you've got nothing else to pull from it, if there's nothing in your toolkit, you will always have a level of doubt, of fear. But even if the nerves still exist, you got this sure shot armor that you created for yourself, that in the midst of the nerves, you're still able to conquer whatever it is you're trying to do, because sometimes that fear can be debilitating. And so I think having the heart for an artist and speaking the language for artists that are, you know, in the performance field, because I'm saying everybody is an artist, right? Wherever you occupy space, that's what I told you girls at the Pretty Girl Sweat Conference in Atlanta. Wherever you occupy space, that is your stage. So whether you are a nurse, shout out to all of the frontline workers, that is your stage when you walk into the hospital. When you are on campuses and you are just inspiring girls, it is how well are you maximizing your stage. I don't care what it is you do. I don't care if you drive buses. I don't care if you're a FedEx worker. Whatever you do, it is about maximizing and occupying your space, so that you're never asking permission to do what you're good at. And once I understood that, as soon as people realize what their force is, mine happens to be immeasurable energy, right? Once I knew that that was there was something about that, that would lead me to my lot in this journey of being in artist development, right? Because I just knew that people have a lot to say, right? And sometimes it exists in their own head, but how do you get it out so that it translates well to an audience? You know, how do we make sure that your lyrics are not just for you? Because then you can sit at home and sing all day. You can sit at home and do your monologue and audition all day. But how do you make sure they penetrate the people you're talking to, that they transcend the lens, that they transcend the audience, and they penetrate the entire space? That is the joy that I have when I'm working with artists such as Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus and Ruby Rose. And I always say that I work with a lot of rappers and sugars. That is who God assigned to me. Little rappers and little sugars. And so a lot of times, because they may have gotten their start online, there is a little bit of trepidation with now being in front of an audience and saying everybody is an artist, right? Wherever you occupy space, that's what I told you girls at the Pretty Girl Sweat Conference, the ownership of their gift, the effect they have on their audience, giving them permission to take ownership of their force as well. I can talk about it all day, but that's all I got.
Well, no, you have a gift, because we're all so moved by you just even sharing that. I mean, it spoke to us in so many different ways. Even if you're talking about someone else you've worked with, the message is very clear to everyone. You know, there is power in repetition. I want to talk a little bit more about Lil Nas X, because he did have a huge transition while working with you. I mean, he was just this young artist who was passionate about putting out music, and then boom, who knew his song would be so big? What is your most proud moment with Lil Nas X that you were a part of?
I think I have two proud moments.
Okay.
One would be his performance on Ellen. Okay, I have three. His performance on Ellen. His performance on Ellen, because, you know, he is such a hard worker, and he has such a very healthy image of himself, right? When something is whack, he'd be like, I don't think that was good. I think that was whack, you know, and he'd want to, you know, go in and work harder. And he's really just like, he's trying to get to this place that he envisions, and he will continue to work at it until he gets there. And to be able to be by his side as he's working through those emotions, you know, the challenges, the highs, and to see him work and then land the next day on Ellen and do it with such pride, you know, that as a coach, you know, are moments that, you know, are really just, they let me know that none of this is in vain, right? That there is I am a vessel and source of sorts, and that what God puts in me is what I give to him, right? I know it's not me. I know that I am operating because the source is operating in me. And so that was one. The next one was the VMAs, because we rehearsed all day, and then that night I'm on my way with my friend Nikki Cosby. We're going to a party because Black Girls Rock was also that same night, so they were having a party. So I'm like, we in the camp, we going to the party. And then I get a text from Hodo, who was on the team, and said, Lil Nas wants to rehearse. I was like, again, interesting. I was like, girl, Nikki, I got to go. Right. And so I get back to the hotel. He's in the hotel conference room with his speaker, and he is ready to work. That is moving for me, right? Because I'm always prepared to do the heavy lifting. But if they could do that lifting of will and determination, I can do the rest. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can take them all the way over. And so it was like, but if I got to have will and I got to be determined for you, like that's a whole nother, you know, bracket. Exactly. And so, and the last thing was watching him get a Grammy for the best performance in a video, knowing that I worked with him on that video. Like, those are moments where I felt like God was like, let me just give you a little something to remind you that everything you have done has counted. And when you thought that you would be the person getting an award as the artist, I knew the artist would be important because that's the talent, and that allows you to speak the language of other artists. But the assignment was the coaching, the assignment so that I could push, you know, these people could continue to push the kingdom forward, was the coaching. And I knew that neither could exist mutually, right? They had to coexist. And so those are the three moments that said, okay, keep going. You got this.
So how can you help us, mere folk out here. We're not artists. How can
You
help
are
us?
artists, okay?
Oh, we are artists. We are artists.
You're artists.
We don't have those
Yeah.
stages. We don't have DMA's Ellen, but we do
Yeah.
have our own personal stages.
But you got boardroom.
We have the boardroom. We have, you could be performing in the classroom. All of that.
You have your classroom, the teachers. You have your home. Yes, wherever you occupy that space. Yes.
So how do we build courage?
Okay. So first, I'm going to share with you some seeds of victory.
Okay.
That will aid you as you build your courage. Number one, don't outsource your win. We're going to stop here with saying that you're waiting on somebody else to give you something that will make you have a breakthrough. Stop waiting. You are the breakthrough. Break yourself through. Ooh, I just came up with that. Break yourself through.
Yourself through. I love that.
Break yourself through. Which means just pre-approve yourself, right? So it's the preparation you put into it. Like I had such this trepidation, but I went into the studio every day and I sang the songs and I did the entire show from top to bottom. I didn't even like talking in between the songs, but I practiced what I was going to say until it felt comfortable. You know what I mean? So it's whatever it is you're doing, put in the hours so that there is very little room when you put yourself in front of the stage and you're ready, whatever that stage is for you. There is little room for uncertainty. There's no space for uncertainty or doubt to exist, because you've carried it out with, oh, I'm prepared. That is a level of confidence that you walk in with permission to do. For me, it is dance, right? Now, speaking, I'll never still be the first one. But dancing, oh, you ain't got to tell me nothing, all right? I'm not even looking at you. I don't even see you. I don't even know that you're there, because that is my thing,
Yes.
And a lot of times for my corporate gigs, my initial thought, is, oh my God, they're going to know so much more than I do. Like, especially when I went to Google, these tech people, I'm like, they're so savvy. They're going to be like, what the hell is she doing here? And I was like, go back to your source. That's what I'll tell you. Go back to your source. Okay, your source is God, but then go back to your next source. What centers you? For me, it's music, right? For me, it is just the repetition of beat after beat. So for Google, I hired a guitar player that played Drake as the people were walking in. So in 5 seconds, I was able to switch whatever their expectation or preconceived notion of what this thing was going to be. I needed to shift it right away. Okay, so go back to your center. The next is show up and be present. None of my jobs came from somebody saying, KJ, you have so much talent, girl. We need you on our team. Maybe one time. Right. But most times it's, how do we get KJ to stop calling us?
I love it. Yes. Yes.
How do we get her off the call sheet? How do we get her from rolling up on us at any moment of the day and saying, I'm in the lobby, you coming down or I'm coming up, but we need to talk. What we doing? And so it is the moment that you get to that point where you know that showing up will get you the job every time, And so, okay, most times, all right. Showing up, job most times. And so that's how, I was able to sing with Biggie. Biggie and Heavy. With Heavy, I got a call while I was living in Brooklyn at like 11 something at night saying, come to the studio. They didn't tell me what it was for. I walk in and I'm singing for Heavy. He's in the booth, right? They didn't think that was going to be a single on the album. They were just looking for an arbitrary, random singer. But I knew they were looking for me. They were looking for Kiana KJ Rose. And that ended up being a single on the track. Okay. Wow. Identify and abide in your force. We talked about that. What makes you come alive? Who are you? So you get to your force by asking yourself this question. Would you choose you? Why you? And if why you, then you list all the things. What is it that you offer? Why do you care about what you do? Why do you want us to care as your audience? Or maybe you don't care. So let's pick something else. But it's got to be something that you didn't roll up in and you just decided to make a career. And I understand, I'm not saying, because I've always had my 9 to 5 and that coexisted with my passion until I was able to make that my full-time gig. But even where you are, find a place to honor the space where you are. Working for Clive Davis, he didn't know I sang, right? But I'm like, we're going to make this work for both of us. So every time I need to pour you some tea or cut you an apple, I'm going to ask you a question, right? And I collected information from different departments. I was able to take my music into the A&Rs while I was at J Records. When I went over to Sundance TV, I used every department when I wanted to put out my album. So it's like, just don't be bitter where you are, honor where you are, utilize it, make it work for you, okay? All right, no matter what, make it count. Your point of view, your delivery, your space, your gift. Nobody wants to be aligned with somebody that's like, well, I think so. Well, I was told that I have this gift. You know, I believe that, you know, people want to align with somebody that's like, look, I am here. How can I add value to you? Because I already got I got value to give. How can I add it to you? So it is really reconciling your internal narrative. Like, what do you think about yourself? And it's really going to those vulnerable parts of your heart, the chambers of your heart that have not been resolved. And that's what I had to do for this book. I had to figure out, because if I wanted you to be vulnerable, I also had to share, you know, areas of my own vulnerability. And so it is making it count, making your point of view count, not asking permission to say it, not being timid when you say it, being willing to walk away if it don't work for nobody else. That's a hard one, but you got to trust that God values knowing that you are existing in the way that he made you, right? And if you are already qualified by him, if you were born of his likeness and of his greatness, then anything thought-wise that deviates from that have nothing to do with him. And so I think he honors when he has created you to be something, and when we don't negotiate with him, which is what I've done in the past. So he said, write a book. I said, I'm gonna write a guide, which is what happened here. I wrote the guide. He was like, nope, keep going. And so that's the other one. Enter every room knowing that you're the solution. Right? But again, the solution comes from the resolve. You got to get to a point where you're resolving. You got to get to a point where there's repetition, and knowing that what you have to offer, if it ain't for them, it'll be for someone else. Right? And so I remember sitting with DeVore Franklin when I was trying to figure out if I was going to live in LA. And I said, I'm trying to figure out that thing, that metric that says I should live in LA versus just staying in New York and figuring it out. And he said, well, that's not how God works. That's what he said, number one. And he said, if he said move, then you move. And then he said, and otherwise you're outsourcing your faith, which is where I took the outsourcing your win, right? He said, don't outsource your faith. I said, don't outsource your win. But what I realized was that it shifted my posture. The minute I said, I'm coming to LA anyway, it allowed every meeting that I took from that point on for me to be less this kind of like small person asking their permission, asking them to hire me in hopes that they say something that I could hang on to that would make me move. And it was more like, hey, I'm coming to LA. Here's my creative deck. I'm just letting you know the resource that's available to you. Boom, take it, leave it, it's here. And then it's don't dismiss anyone. Stay humble. You know, it's like a lot of times our confidence is aligned with the level of person that we were able to connect with, when it really should be aligned to our own internal thoughts. You know, it should be aligned with our kindness, our ability to see good and to make every encounter count, right? And so for me, it showed up in my life because Jeff Sledge was an executive at Jive Records. I had declared I was going on tour with Britney Spears. I remember Cheryl Wesley introduced me to Jeff, and I was like, Jeff, I'm going on tour. I need you to work this out. Now, he had nothing to do with that tour, but I knew Britney was on Jive. I called Jeff. He was in meetings back to back to back. I called him for weeks. And finally, I sat and I just talked to the assistant, Aaron Simon, who now runs Harman Electronics. And I said, yeah, how's your day going? Man, I just said, how is your day going? He was like, it's great. What you been up to? I was like, man, my goal has been trying to get with Britney. He said, my friend is the tour manager. So all that time I was calling Jeff. I love you, Jeff. So Jeff still got me to Aaron, but it was Aaron that got me to the job.
Yeah.
You know, and lastly, don't just understand that God does not call the qualified. He does not call the qualified, and he will only speak the call to you, but he qualifies the called. And I know that's been a testament for my life, you know, and just knowing every time I didn't have the confidence, every time fear would try to present itself, I'd go back to, but he already qualified me for this. He equipped me for this. He gave me the tools that I needed. I just have to sharpen them. But it is nobody else that can validate what God has already said to me. And that's how you can start building your confidence.
Oh my God.
Like
I hope
20
you all
minutes
were
later.
taking notes. And if you were not taking notes, let's talk more about the book and how they can have this knowledge and wisdom right in the palm of their hands at home.
Yes. Okay. So the book is called The Rose Effect, 8 Steps to Delivering the Performance of Your Life. And it is on Amazon right now. It was the #1 new release on Amazon. You got to run with every title you get. Woo-hoo! And so I just want people to know that this was not something, this grand idea I had of like, everyone should know what knowledge I have. It had nothing to do with that. It was that I had been doing workshops across the country and globally. And I felt like once the work or the workshop was complete, I had nothing tangible to leave them so that they continue to do the work. I had nothing to help them continue to transform. And God was whispered to me, oh, well, you got to write it down. Put it in a guide. I said, no, that ain't me. I'm not an author. Let me just stay in my lane. And he kept whispering and I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a guide. And then he was like, man, I still said that wasn't it, you know? And in fact, I got so bold that when I ended up getting booked for Microsoft to speak at their women's conference on March 6th. It got postponed to October, but Microsoft bought 600 books as part of this engagement, right? And the books, and so I have to remember that we're only a present iteration of ourselves, right? So they got one iteration of the book. But since March 6th, I've evolved so much, right? And so this is kind of the newest iteration, and I'll have to send them the new one. But it is, I think we have to forgive ourselves for decisions that we made yesterday that did not serve us, because a lot of times our ego or our hurt of the mistakes that we've made stop us from being able to take advantage of the opportunity that's waiting the next 5 minutes, right? So maybe at 10:55, you know, you're like, dang, I shouldn't have done it, or man, that was a mistake, or whatever. But at 11, somebody is waiting to give you a new opportunity. But we're so mad about 10:55, we can't get past that. So we're still sitting in our hurt. So I say recover quicker. This book is to help you recover quicker. And because really the external expression of whatever you do is a mere and direct reflection of what you think internally, right? It's your internal narrative. It's what you tell yourself. It's what you think about yourself. It's very telling. You know, it's how you interact with other people. And so this work at the end of every chapter is an actionable piece. And so I basically put my own stories of how I navigated corporate America and the music industry out there. And then I tell the lesson so that nobody else has to reinvent the wheel. And then from the lessons, I give them an actionable piece. And so it's all in here. And I'm grateful that I finally was obedient to the call. Because I have just been hearing people saying this spoke to me or this served me in some way. And I knew that on the other side of this book was a new season that God was waiting to just kind of like pour into my life. And so it is, whenever you think that you're done, like ask God, like, this can't be it. Like, what was the other thing you wanted me to do? What was the more? Because he promised more. And so I thought the end was like, I would just have this 9 to 5 and I would have this business of working with artists, but I knew I wanted to do more. So I kept grabbing for more. So it is to help you get your more. It's to help you keep climbing. It's to encourage you to keep going for your more, because we were never meant for mediocrity. We were always meant for victory. And I just want you to get to your victory, because if victory begets victory, then we all winning.
Can you bless us with an audio version of this? Because I'm just, for being honest, you delivering the book the way that you speak, I think would even touch more people.
I'm just saying. Next goal. That is the
audio.
Next goal. I'm trying. Like, they were like, they're trying to be on me. I said, can I just like sit in the book before I do the audio book? They're like,
audio book. We need to hear you. We need to see you. I mean, we just need it all. So like, I'm just putting
yes, ma'am. Okay, you've convicted me, and now that's another person. I've got to do it.
Exactly. I want to also shout out Ariane Simone. She was in here showing us some love. We love you back.
Yeah,
Thank
ordering
you.
today. Thanks, Frida.
Yeah. Yes, thanks to all of these positive comments. This is awesome. Okay, so make sure you all put any questions you have in there for KJ Rose.
Yeah.
But let's do a story time.
Okay.
I would like to know about your first Pretty Girl Sweat experience. I mean, I know about it, but you can share with everyone else.
Okay. It was in Atlanta. It was, when it's like, whenever you're doing something for the first time, there is always this kind of like feeling of like, how will it be received? Right. And so I always have to release myself from that and just say, Lord, whoever's supposed to get this and however it's supposed to be done, let me get out of the way. And I need you to show up, because it's like new territory. Whenever you find yourself in new territory, it just causes like, if you're not careful, it will cause a disruption, in your spirit. And so I remember getting there super early that morning. I was staying in Atlanta with my girl, Devna from FAMU, and they were coming, and I had everybody. I was like, I need y'all to be here this time. I'm going to go on. Blah, blah, blah. And I remember like being outside, and, nothing ever goes the way you think it's going to go, right? So I think, and that just goes like, again, how do you pivot? Pivot quick, pivot faster. And so I remember we were outside and we didn't really have a speaker, right? Did we have we didn't, the mic, no. Right, we didn't have a speaker. So all these girls were outside and they were like, all right, KJ. And I was like, no, I need music. I need to come in the music, play the music from on the other side. They were like, ma'am, it will not reach over here. I was like, okay, so you got to be the music. So I think somebody had a speaker. I used that speaker. I started dancing around. And again, went back to what centers me was the music before I started speaking. And I remember Rashad Ali being in the front, shout out to Fam, and just having people stand and just and excite them and invigorate them. And I knew you had given me like kind of like questions before, or just kind of like talking points. So I studied, like, let me tell you, I never get comfortable to the point where I am not reviewing and studying, because I want people to know that we value their time enough to do the work that we need to do. And so it was fabulous. It was like, afterwards I was able to get some testimonials from people. And then, so that was just the stage, the outside stage. That was part one. That was the the precursor. And then to get on the stage, all that room. And because normally when I do a lot of gigs, it is like either in a conference room or it's, I have to be a little bit more classy. I have to, but I still dance, but I'm dancing in my heels. But I had a stage with gym shoes, and Rashad was on the stage, and you were on the stage. Oh my God, I went wild. I danced, I had everybody else dancing. And, from that, my girl, Michelle Sanchez, was there, and she was there with her husband, Nelson. And Nelson grabbed me from that and put me for my second time with Google. So it was like work begets work, knowing when you do what you love, people will show you love. Yeah. And you just got to know that's how it happens. When you do what you love in a way that you, want to pour into other people and you want to make sure that you take them higher, people will show you love. And so it was my extreme pleasure to be on that stage. And I hope I can come back. Can I come back?
Yes, of course you can always come back. I'm like, I want to invite you to everything. And I'm like, am I overextending my friendship?
No, so let's get that out of the way. Yeah. Whenever you call, I'll say yes.
Oh, like,
yes. Okay. Because you remember the first time we sat and talked about it, right? Yes. I just happened to hit you. I was like, I'm in town. What you doing? Blah, blah. We met for lunch, and that is how it started. Yeah. And that was months before the event. So it's like, oh my God, it's so many like small little lessons in that, which is like, when your gut speaks, answer. My gut said, hey, you're here. And it was just like, it's answer, it's listen, it's get quiet, it's get still, so that God can just do what he's trying to do. Sometimes he's trying to put us in place, but we done left the place already. We weren't still enough. We didn't hear him. He's trying to move people around. When he moves people out, we still mad that he moved them out, instead of just saying, okay, process it, keep moving, but know if it's out, it's because somebody else needs to come in.
Right.
Don't let me get started.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm thinking back to the day, we're going to end soon, but I was thinking back to the day when you were speaking outside and just looking at the video and the photographs of everyone hanging on to your every word. There's so much power in that. Like you just see people just like waiting, but what's the next thing she's going to say? What's the next thing? So you are an amazing person because you can do that. You have that power to grab attention, to get people to really listen in loud environments. I mean, that's a gift.
It was loud, right? It was loud.
It was loud.
Because their attention could have been somewhere else. But it's like, you know, again, it worked. Like I wasn't born to be the, you know, the speaker out there. So it requires work to tune everything else out and to almost stand there like, and believe that you are the solution. Yeah. You know, you got to believe that you have the words that can speak to them if you want them to believe the words, you know? So it was like, I had to do internal work. I prayed before, like I just never take any opportunity for granted. And I always say, Lord, if I'm able to move or speak into the life of one person, we did it. Yeah. You know, so let me make sure that as excited as I get, that I realize it has nothing to do with me, you know?
And you created a song for us, which I was like, can I say overachiever?
Oh, I was going to sing it. I was going to sing it as we came in. Okay, I'm ready. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty girl sweat and we all not grind. The rose effect only want to make you shine. Hey, 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 hey. What's the next one? Pretty girl sweat. You got the first part, okay?
I got the first part. No, it was awesome. It was awesome. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for this today.
Amen.
Like I said, we're going to be calling on you, especially because we're working on a virtual conference. So we need you there.
And I'm there. I'm so there. And thank you. I just got to give the shout out to you and Pretty Girl Sweat and how you took this idea. You did not let it go to waste. You made it count. And your entire family is involved, you know, and just to see how Al was like on set supporting you and just congratulations to you, you know, for creating a platform for women to love on themselves and to know they're worthy to be loved, but it starts with them first. So I just, and to know that they're pretty. It don't matter who says it. They tell themselves that. You know what I mean? And not be afraid to stand in that. And so I honor you today, Aeshia, okay? For all that you have done. And I'm grateful for this friendship.
Oh, same here. And one last time, tell them where to get this book.
You can get the book. You can get the book on Amazon. Yeah, on Amazon. Yeah, it's 8 steps to deliver the performance of your life. Because you can get the book. You can get the book on Amazon. Get it today. Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all go get that book. Y'all. Much love to you. I can't wait to see you in real life. But until then, we'll stay connected.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you.